Greetings, everyone. CoinStamp180 here, otherwise known as Swirling Vortex 09 on YouTube, and welcome back to another episode of Elden Ring Reforged. Last time, we managed to explore some portions of Central Limgrave, or Western Limgrave. That's probably the best way I can describe that. You sort of took a round trip and ended up at Gatefront. I've done a little bit of looking in, and in order to progress forward in a reasonable time frame, what I'm actually probably going to do is come over through Eastern Limgrave here. Can you guys make out this faint obelisk-looking thing over here? Let me move my cursor. It's to the left of the map reticle now. Yeah, we're gonna go over and grab that. We were at Stormgate. I did go ahead and move us back to Sorcerer's Cellin. That way we can just kind of get out and get going. How's everyone doing? I'm tired, but I'm hanging in there. You might be asking yourself why. You look perfectly fine. What's got you all tired? It's, you know how sometimes people have different symptoms for the same illness. Those are called idiosyncratic symptoms, meaning no other person has them except that one person. When I drink caffeine of any kind, it doesn't liven me up like people think it should. It puts me to sleep. If I had a Java Monster triple shot last night, just out of complete and utter whimsy, I happened to make a pit stop at the gas station after at a local gas station after last night. And I had one on a whim, and that stuff made me fall asleep within the snap of a finger. Yeah, I'm not sure why. I've always had this thing with caffeine, where if I take too much of it in an uncontrolled dose, I go right to sleep. But if I drink only a single cup of coffee, I'm fine. Java Monsters have more than, 200 milligrams of caffeine in them, not to mention the other stuff that tends to be in Monster, so I'm not surprised it put me to sleep, if I'm being honest. I'm only surprised it took me longer than expected to fall asleep. And that stuff holds to me. It clings real tight. The mod has gotten an update, I think as of yesterday. As of yesterday. We are now playing version 2.30. Most notably, a new game mode has been added that's available at the Chapel of Anticipation. That's where I showed you guys the grafted scion. We kind of just forcibly killed ourselves to it. And there's a reason for that. I didn't waste your time at the Chapel of Anticipation because there wasn't really much we could do with it. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. Frozen raisins, aren't you ever going to drop your gear? Yeah, these guys do drop their gear, but the percent chance is, I think, either 10% or less. So it's quite rare. Um, well, the rarer parts of their gear are certainly 10% or less. Um, I completely blanked on what I was gonna say. Other than no, I thought I could salvage that. I could not. Um, that'll be fun editing for the VOD later. But yeah, basic game plan is to go grab the map fragment, then go get the Flask of Wondrous Physick, that is the name of the game, and then we come back here, go past Stormgate, and unlock something kind of important. It'll make sense when the task is actually done. We don't have to do this. If you're like trying to play along, you can definitely just proceed right past Gatefront. You don't even need you don't even need to do this round trip for the staff. You can you're meant to go past Stormgate and right up to Stormvale Castle. There's a good reason for that you'll see later. Oh, right, the caffeine. That's what I was talking about earlier. So, yeah, that monster's still clinging to me. Instead of energizing me, it makes me drowsy. I wish it had the ordinary effect. Because if it did, I would actually be able to do something to pull an all-nighter. As it stands, I kind of can't. The only way I pull an all-nighter at any point is to just forcibly keep myself awake. Which I can do through playing video games. Maybe that's part of it. You know how, those who tend to play video games tend to have absolutely piss poor, urine poor, I guess if I wanted to be, totally PG, tend to have poor management of, their autonomic response to endorphins. Yeah, that's probably what it is that something is just keeping those receptors super open, and caffeine ain't cutting it. That's probably what the answer is. Video games are a powerful drug. What can I say? Being visually stimulated, being physically stimulated with the controls. What's there not to like? Well, apparently your brain likes it a bit too well.
Is anybody there? Someone who might be interested in rescuing the great Kenneth Height, servant to the True Order and celebrated repudiator of the false. Oh, Urchin, grant me succor.
Well. Nice, nice.
Hello?
No, I don't want to continue listening to
Someone
you.
who might be interested in rescuing the great.
Shh.
You've come to lend me your aid, have you? Well, that's very kind, but
Oh, you have something humorous to say?
the help is
I
very
thought
much
so.
appreciated, even from a tarnished. Despite appearances, nobility is no prerequisite to serving the True Order. You might have heard of me, Kenneth Height. Next in line is the rightful ruler of Limgrave, young Tarnished. I would have a boon of you. I want you to take back my fort. It lies to the south, beyond the Mistwall. A knight commander from Stormvale took it. A fool and plumb mad to boot. Simply obsessed with blood. What are you waiting for? A kiss goodbye? My fort lies to the south, beyond the Mistwood. Take it back for me. Oh, I see. You wish to know the reward. Fret not. The great Kenneth Height is known for his considerable largesse. The celebrations will be lavish indeed upon the dawn of my fort's retrieval.
Are you sure you want to be cashing that check? Like writing that check, Mr. Height?
Yes. Allow me to furnish you with a little advice. I would take great care to avoid Godric's tarnished hunts were I in your shoes. That depraved lot are obsessed with sacrificing tarnished like you for the sake of grafting. Honestly, Godric's nothing more than a jumped-up country bumpkin. Lord? Oh, don't make me laugh. First, he hid himself amongst the womenfolk to flee the capital, then hid from Radahn in that castle. Then he insulted Melania, lost to her in battle, only to lick her boots rather than die like a man. Has he no shame, the big girl's blouse? And to think, he's the blood of Godfrey, last of the golden lineage. You almost wouldn't know it to look at him. Yeah, I almost feel sorry for the chap the more I think of it.
Wow. That is quite the shade to be throwing.
What are you waiting for? My fort,
No, kiss goodbye. Mwah. No, I'm not. I'm waiting for you to shut up. This guy is annoying. If I could have Torrent just rear kick him off the off this broken ruin structure onto the ground below and have him ostensibly murdered, I don't think he would be missed. He is a haughty little noble. A haughty noble. Let me make sure I'm not giving him praise instead. Yeah, Kenneth Height is a important, in air quotes, NPC. He is part of a quest. Yeah, he is part of a quest involving himself, another woman that we'll meet later, and another man that we'll meet sooner rather than later. I believe that they're guarding something at that cart. That's what I'm going back to grab. It'll be a pain to try to grab that, you know, after we've grabbed this flask. Really now. Yeah, there are a surprising number of enemies that will strafe whatever you're casting at them. It can be downright infuriating sometimes. Hopefully you guys are doing okay. I've worked on a few small stream elements things, mainly shutting off impertinent timers or irrelevant timers that won't mean anything to you, and turning on timers that are absolutely relevant. I've also thrown together a small command for channel points. Those do have a use. Most notably, the easiest one you can use is donating 50 points to ask me anything. As long as it doesn't violate terms of service. Pretty much, if something violates terms of service for any reason, not only do I ignore it, I'll also mete out the appropriate discipline for that. Whether that's a ban, whether that is a timeout, you name it. I don't allow channel features to be used to circumvent Twitch's or Amazon's rules. That's not good practice for me. These guys should now be much easier with the staff. boy, would it be nice to have some targeting for their heads. Some other things I guess you can do with channel points are you can have me stop talking if you spend a whole bunch of them. You can have me avoid a specific word for the next X minutes. You can have me play the game without my glasses. I totally allow that. You just have to be willing to spend some serious amperes to do that. And you get amperes by watching actively. That means having the tab actually open instead of just being a background process. You get more if you're sub. You get more if you talk actively. You get the idea. You'll get everyone gets a base amount. And then gets more depending on what they do with the channel. I'm not really sure. I used to have music requests as part of the amperes, but or as part of like channel points and channel resources, but copyright laws have gotten a lot tighter since I was last on Twitch. They were already tightening up before when I took my 4-year break, more or less. But yeah, the copyright laws are a lot tighter now. No matter how well-meaning a Twitch user or a viewer might be, you just can't let them make musical requests for near anything. You do have to moderate them. And that means... Nice. The Crimson Crystal Tier. No, I had it right. And a real Sacred Tier. Well, that's mission accomplished, right? Let's go ahead and mix this. And talk to Melina.
Spoken echoes linger here. Words of Queen Marika, who vanished long ago. If you wish, I will share them with you.
Sure.
Very well. In Marika's own words, my lord, and thy warriors, I divest each of thee of thy grace. With thine eyes dimmed, ye will be driven from the lands between. Ye will wage war in a land afar, where ye will live and die. Well, perhaps that might serve you in lieu of a maiden's guidance.
Perhaps. Or maybe it's meaningless tripe that makes no sense to us. That statement is actually pretty relevant in terms of lore. It's sort of explaining what happened with the demigods, as it were, and those who were supposedly favored by Marika. Something happened in order to make them lose favor and thus be rendered as in the state that we see them today. They were apparently driven from some other place. Now we happened to get the flask first. We are still going to pick up this fragment, though. The map fragment. Thankfully, we don't have to take too many off-road trips. It really is just as simple as stay on the road, stop just short of anything that might threaten you, grab the fragment, and leave. It's not difficult. That's the beauty about things in Elden Ring, regardless of if you're playing vanilla or modded, is that you're free to pick your engagements as long as you're paying attention. Now, of course, if an enemy happens upon you, that's a bit different. You didn't pick that engagement, they picked the engagement. Completely different. Oh boy. Don't do that. Even the normal bears aren't too hard. You just have to make sure you're paying minimal attention. Now, this rune bear up here, you can kill him. I don't recommend it right now. We might even be able to sneak and grab this item it's guarding. I'm certainly gonna try. I don't know if it's gonna work. Alright, we have the map for Eastern Limgrave. That is awesome. So now, while we're like this, even though the rune bear is within sight, like we can see him, the really nice thing about the warp system is that it's not considered actively hostile right now. So we can totally warp while it's just scratching that tree. And indeed we should. We should go back to Gatefront. I think I said Storm Gate earlier. The rest site is Gatefront. Yeah, the rest site is Gatefront. The place on the map is Stormgate. It's a little bit confusing sometimes. I also tried adjusting the timers. They should be going off around every hour to 2 hours. I mean, it's nice to have bots in the chat talking to me, but I know that gets annoying. Most people don't want a bot that does those things. So I'm trying a modified approach where I make those timers almost as long as I can, and I think the maximum is like something like 2 hours. So you're going to see it at least once. But the plan is to not have you see it more than once. We don't need to be fighting nighttime bosses right now. We're going to be passing it up to morning. We're going to increase the amount replenished by our flasks. That's what the sacred tears are for, by the way. And I think from there, we should be good. There will be another rest site up ahead, and at that rest site, I'll make certain adjustments so that we're not running into issues later. But for the time being, let's just focus on getting through Stormgate, shall we? Nothing to do here. You're definitely stuck. Just kind of wandering through and making sure that you kill all the soldiers who are firing crossbow bolts at ya. You can't really kill the giant until you do it. And it's really just working the crowd. That's all you can do, is work the crowd. So kind of go back and forth, pick different targets. You know, make sure the giant doesn't get to dismount you. All that other fun stuff. And this place isn't too bad. And sometimes the giant will even help you take out, you know, the guys you're trying to kill. I mean, it's just a win-win. And then, you know, as soon as you're done, you can go ahead and step off your horse. And eventually, I probably should have gotten farther away there. And I definitely should not have been casting during that. Oh, you're doing that, are you? Well, I think a lovely little brick wall put an end to that. Yeah. Now, if you're trying to do that hitless, you know... Oh, and I thought his foot was an enemy soldier for some weird reason. If you're trying to do Stormgate without taking hits, no bueno. You need to run. And just kind of zigzag your way past. If you don't care about taking hits, then just do what I did, which is kind of like circle around the place. You know, don't spend too long attacking various targets, and switch, making sure to target the same one. Like, you want to target the same people over and over, and then switch, but you want to switch between those targets and keep moving so you're not pinned by the giant, you're not pinned by the archers. You know, you're playing defensively, but with a purpose. And constantly switching focus targets. It's exactly like an MMO. You treat that like an MMO where you're moving from group to group, you've got it. Don't you dare. Well, if you're going to bring a group, then I'm totally going to just, I am absolutely just going to turbo your whole group instead of just you. Dark Souls Souls franchise exactly as Miyazaki intended. With FP regen and everything. I'm joking, by the way. That's definitely not how Miyazaki intended it. Miyazaki definitely wanted it clunky, where you definitely were consuming flasks just to get through this. Because that's what, you know, Dark Souls and Souls-likes are in general. They are meant to be clunky game controls on purpose. They are purposefully programmed to be quote-unquote bad. That's the whole point. It's stupid difficult. If you don't like it, there are other games out there. You can also make use of the spirit summons being a total accessibility tool. As well as some other quality of life features, and the accessibility tools are made better in Elden Ring Reforged. They are absolutely made better. They don't scale as well, I will say that. But honestly, the Spirit Ashes still do what they're meant to do. They weren't removed. They're not going through a convergence overhaul, where it's essentially a alluring skull or bust. That's pretty much what convergence is going to do to them. Is they're an alluring skull, and then it's over. No extra damage or anything like that.
Everyone's been grafted. Everyone who came with me. They crossed the sea for me. They fought for me. Only to have their arms taken. Their legs taken. Even their heads taken. taken and stuck to the spider. Did you know? If you're grafted by the spider, you become a chrysalid. It's quite a lark when you think about it.
Oh, well, hi there. Who are you?
You're all on your own, are you? And heading to Stormvale Castle? Enticed by the one in the white mask, I suppose. Oh, you've come to be one with the spider? Well, that makes us two peas in a pod. But I don't have your courage. It's scary, you know, having your arms cut off, or legs, or your head. I want to be like everyone else, but I'm just too scared. I'm nothing but a craven. Oh, I know. Can you take this little one along with you?
And you get probably the most infamous spirit ashes in the whole game. This is the spirit jellyfish ashes. It's an I wouldn't say it's extremely powerful, but it is a powerful spirit ash that is extremely boss friendly. You'll see what I mean when we get ready to take on I think Margit's his name.
The poor thing deserves someone braver than myself. And the spirits look rather fondly upon you. It'll be glad of your company, I think, the little one. It was a pleasure to see you. Oh, can you pass on a message for me? If you see the little chrysalids in Stormvale Castle, tell them I love them. And that, despite my craven heart, I'm sure I'll be joining their club soon enough. I'm finally getting the hang of this whole pain thing, you know. It was a pleasure to see. Can you pass on...
You ask me, you give us some spirit ashes. You ask me to pass along a message to creatures that most assuredly are going to try to kill us. And you haven't told me or us your name. Why should I help you? Ah, no matter. Yeah, I suppose if I see him, I'll do something about it. That's how I treat it anyway. Yep, this is the Stormhill Shack. It's a nice little, mini hub. So now that we're here, our base of operations is no longer Gatefront. It's, now it's these other rest sites that are before it. Gatefront's sort of like that dividing line, where, like, everything before Gatefront is a hub for the local area, and everything after Gatefront has this or one of the few others dotting its landscape. Not too sure what else to say other than that. For now, let's make our way up here. There's no reason to do anything else right now. Like, yes, we could go off and explore all kinds of cool places, but I would rather get to what is behind Margit for the time being, or before him, depending on how you handle it. It'll become apparent once those conditions have been met. There's no reason to go into that right now. Nice, nice. I love getting blasted by bombs. Well, well, well. Your little entourage didn't make it too far now, did they? So, this hill is pretty rough. It's not so much this section. It's another section. It's what's past this stake, apparently, like, quite frankly. See this white beetle? Yeah, that scarab has something we want. An Ash of War. I kept moving to avoid the archer on the hill, by the way. There are at least two of them. Don't you blow that horn. Don't you blow that horn. I see it. Just take your glintstone stars and be... Never mind. Oh. This is gonna be rough. Go ahead and drink up here. And, have issues dodging due to tree cover. Awesome. Just like with Gatefront, keep your calm. There's no reason you can't just maintain or manage your spacing tools. Let them advance one at a time. Keep your eyes on the archers in the back. And make sure you're paying attention to what they're doing, not just enemy placements. Other than that, it's not too bad. Even if they block your magic, you can still totally punish them for it. And this one even ran around the hill to try to get to you. And unfortunately, that person who ran behind the hill in order to try to get to us just ended up eating multiple glintstone stars to the face. And it didn't work out great for them. Okay, that archer is from over here. Yeah, you're going to be able to get anywhere between 3 and 5, somewhere closer to 3 or 4 swings of Slicer, or 3 to 4 taps of Pebble before you have to worry about dodging any distant archers, depending on proximity, of course. Really? And don't worry, we'll be depositing all these runes before we fight Market. I don't want to be thinking about, you know, retrieving them 100 times over. And I'll explain kind of how Market works, so that I'll explain how he works when we get to the rest site before him. That way, once I explain how he works, I could just do the fight without talking. Again, boss fights in Elden Ring are intense. You kind of don't want to be talking during those. You tend to bite it really bad. Look at that. Battlement, or the entranceway, completely carved out. And we only really used one flask. Also, while I'm thinking about it, we have this flask of Wondrous Physick that we totally need to route to our hotbar. And here we are. The Castle Ward Tunnel is the site of grace before this fight. So, the way that the fight works, Market has 2 phases. I mean, lots of things in Elden Ring have 2 phases. This one's not really any different. But in phase 1, Market mostly attacks with the stick. If you're close, he'll tend to make either quick swipes with it, or he'll have these really delayed attacks. And by delayed, I mean upwards of 2 seconds or 3 seconds of delay between when he starts the animation and when it finishes, and he goes into the swing. Yeah. He is there to roll check you. If you're too far away, he will also toss holy knives at you. He'll conjure holy energy in the shape of a knife and chuck it at you. That's the Estus or the Flask check. Are you drinking or too far away when he away and he needs a gap closer? He's gonna do that. So there is a sweet spot for the range where it's too close for him to do anything but go for other gap closers, but just far enough away that the gap closers still leave room. I don't know 100% for sure what that distance is, but you'll definitely know when he can use his melee closers and get to you, and when he can use his ranged closers and get to you. With phase 2, he'll conjure a giant mallet to use in his right hand, and every so often he'll either swing that, which has about the same range as his stick, or he'll leap into the air and slam it down at you. And it does create a shockwave, so you will have to mind that. And it hurts like a Mack truck. Market will probably two-shot us or three-shot us in this gear. He hits hard. I recommend help. I don't recommend trying to do this unless you're trying to, no-hit it or something. Then, just don't attack until there's a delay on his attacks, until he's recovering. When he's got a 4-second delay, that is not the time to be making attacks. That is the time to be paying attention, because usually with the 4-second delayed attack or the 3-second delayed attack, there's a follow-up. And that follow-up is way faster. Like I said, the delays are meant to roll catch you. So, we have our spells. Let's level up and get some stats. Let's put one in endurance and put one in intelligence. Note that if we had put 2 points... No, I'm sorry, I take that back. We would have needed more runes than we had. So, getting that point of endurance will actually be useful. So, what we're going to do now is pull out a summon for this. It does make it easier, I promise. Before that, we're going to reroute our flasks again. You really want as many flasks for your health as you can manage. So let's see. We're going to allocate these. And that gives us a lot of health to play with. Now that we've done this, we're going to go summon a friend. Summoning him, I think, is required for his quest line. He does not have to survive, but I think he does have to be summoned. I'm open to being wrong. Then we're going to summon some Spirit Ashes. I'm probably going to summon... let's see. There are 2 options. One is the Spirit Jellyfish, which will poison him. One of their attacks is a poison spray. And the other are wolves. I think for this fight, I want the Spirit Jellyfish. But before that, we have a cutscene.
In search of the Elden Ring. Emboldened by the flame of ambition.
Well, well, well. Alright, Margit the Fell. Let's go then. Oh, and yeah, he is big reach.
Thou art of passing skill. Warrior blood must truly run in thy veins. Tarnished.
Oh, I forgot. He'll also conjure a regular-sized sword.
Foolish ambitions to rest.
Now, you do not have to beat him to get access to what we're about to do next. You just need to fight him. Just rest at the sight of grace again.
Forgive me. I've been testing you to see whether or not grace truly does guide you, and whether you are fit to face the challenge that entails. It seems my worries were unfounded. Torrent had your measure from the very start, whereas I merely pretended. There is but one other thing I can do to offer you guidance. I can take you to the Round Table Hall, gathering place of tarnished champions, guided by grace.
Sure. We're not really given a choice.
My hand rest upon you for but a moment.
The Round Table Hold is a place where tarnished gather, guided by grace. Combat is prohibited on the premises due to a pact of non-aggression. This rule is in effect when the Round Table icon is displayed. It will be the golden disc with a spark in it. The Round Table Hold is located outside of this world, and fast travel by grace is the only means of reaching it. Use the map to travel there. And as you can see, what it means is the Table of Lost Grace. And it really is outside of the map, at least for the time being. Eventually you'll learn some more things that make it, how do I put it, less apparent that this place really exists outside of the purview of the world. It's more like it's far removed from it, but that's as much as I'll say on the matter for the time being.
Oh, this is a rare occasion. I can't remember the last time a new tarnished made their way to the Round Table. Very well. As your senior, I bid you welcome. It is safe here. You may let down your guard. Allow me a word of advice. As your senior, you are a mere visitor to the Round Table. Nothing more. A house guest. Yet to earn their keep. Remember your place, newcomer. There's nothing left to say. Be at your leisure. There's nothing left to say.
So, you guys might have seen him during the cutscene. You know, the one before we're sent to a chapel to fight the Grafted Scion? Yeah, this is Sir Gideon Ofnir. the all-knowing. He's one of the tarnished that is seeking the throne. He's very important. And no, you can't really see what's behind that helmet, but yes, I think either someone named Zuli the Witch or someone else did some digging. If there's time left over, at the end of stream, I will show you guys a picture of Sir Gideon Ofnir's face. It's quite the shock. I've seen it. But he isn't the only fresh face we have to see.
Ah, hello. You must be new here. Well, just call me Dialos. The honor of one's house holds little import in these lands. By the way, have you met a young woman named Lanya on your travels? She's my servant, but fickle as the wind. Take your eyes off her for but a moment and she's good as gone. If you find her, please be sure to tell me.
Well, Mr. Dialos, if I see someone named Lanya, you will be the first to know.
Be sure to tell me if you meet a young woman named Lanya. She's a servant to my house. She's been my companion since childhood. I've lost count of the number of times I've had to find her like this. Honestly, she's such a little tomboy. Be sure to tell she's a servant. She's been my companion. I've lost count of the number of times.
Okay, yep. Dialos is an NPC that would be much more important later. He is not currently important right now, but it's good to know he's here, and he'll be here for some time.
Oh, I see you've just arrived. Welcome to the Round Table Hold. I'm Corin, a man of the cloth. I teach incantations, the strength granted us by the two fingers, and explore the secrets of the Golden Order, so that one day, if a tarnished of the Round Table Hold should become Elden Lord, I might counsel them, ensuring order regains its proper form, righting rule over men. By the way, do you still see it? The guidance of grace.
Yes, this is a question you're going to get asked a lot. And if you want quests, you had better answer yes.
You do. Wonderful news. Most tarnished are blind to it these days. You are something of a rare breed. Well, what do you say? Care to learn an incantation of the two fingers?
Sure, Corin. And, his name is very similar to Cornix. That was the instructor for pyromancies in Dark Souls 3. Their names are very similar. I mix them up all the time. But, yeah, welcome to Incantations. This is the other major school or major field of magic, as it were, that is going to pique your interest. So, incantations are broken down into several different types of spells. They heal. This is something not shared with sorceries. Sorceries don't do healing of any kind. That is strictly an incantation thing. They do share buffs in common, but the incantations are the ones that have mitigative buffs, defensive ones. So, whereas sorceries tend to augment your spellcasting further, rather than close quarters or mid-range combat like these. Incantations also cure status effects. I think there are a couple of sorceries that alleviate status buildup. I think there's one for sleep, but that could be an incantation and I just don't remember. You also have offensive spells. You have ones that belong to the Holy Order and deal holy damage. And you have ones that look very familiar. These would both have been pyromancies in Dark Souls of any iteration. So, Discus of Light. Discus of Light is new. And it's new in the sense of Corin does normally sell it at a specific point, but that is not till later. The mod makes it so that he sells this immediately, and you can notice the difference. It's expensive. You're meant to buy this later. We currently don't have the implement to cast any incantations. We need to get a finger seal first.
May the golden order shine through you.
Let's talk to everyone else, because there's more than just these three here. After all, this is just the main table room. You would totally expect other people to be other places, right? We have Edgelord. No, that's not their name. But they are an Edgelord. Look at that outfit. You know, blackened garbs, adorned in golden bone, leaning back without a care in the world. Yeah, that's Mr. Edgelord, all right. And they'll stay that way too. They only stop leaning behind this wall at a very specific point, and you guys won't like what that point is. Moving past him, we have these that don't talk. These are the Twin Maiden Husks. If you guys recall in Dark Souls 3 that we had a Shrine Handmaiden that had stuff for sale. Yeah, this is the equivalent of that. As you guys can see, these are the finger seals that are required for incantations. They're not super expensive, but they aren't super cheap either. And that's everything on this in the strategy room side of Round Table Hold. We also have at least two more folks.
You're a new face. No matter. It's all the same. Lay out your arms. Let's get smithing.
Well, Smithing Master Hugh. Yeah, you see what I meant by it's really crucial that we get here? Hugh is why that is the case.
I see you've noticed the chains. Nothing special. I'm a prisoner and these are my chains. I'm trapped by the hold. I'm dying, smithing for you fools. That's all there is to it.
You're a prisoner here?
No, don't read too much into it. I've no grudge against you. My being a prisoner is no fault of yours. Besides, I don't mind smithing. Despite my differences, the weapons get stronger all the same. Given time, technique never fails. Besides, it helps me forget the sheer terror of her.
I wonder who that might be. So, Hugh, he is no blacksmith Andre, but I think you guys will come to respect Hugh in his own right. He definitely has his own character and own personality. It's not Andre's, but Andre didn't exactly have that much of a personality. Most of it was right in the first initial Dark Souls, not Demon Souls, Dark Souls. And then it was left alone after that, until Dark Souls 3. He wasn't in 2. They were completely different smiths for that. I think you guys will like Hugh. I like him. I honestly think Hugh and Andre are in the same camp. They're well-respected blacksmiths. It's just Andre looks cooler because he's a human. He's like a well-built human, whereas this, you kind of really don't know what he is. You don't know what Hugh is. You'd have to go to the wiki for that. So, we can put Ashes of War on our items. We could have done this at the other smithing table, But doing it here, when you're already trying to strengthen armaments past a certain point, is just a more prudent thing to do. Now, Hugh will let you completely strengthen your armaments. That smithing table that's back near Kale only lets you smith up to +3. So if you want to make your weapons stronger, then you need to come here and not waste your time anywhere else. Now, we have some things we'd like to pawn off. Mainly, it's just duplicate gear. That's what I'm interested in pawning off. We do have some. Not a whole bunch. We're already done. The only thing we have to sell are the golden runes, which wouldn't even allow us to strengthen our staff any further, but we do need to pop these for a different reason. And that reason is hopefully not tied to computer crashing or there being a lockup on game performance. There's nothing down here. You can even walk behind this rack of kegs, and there's nothing here. We can go over here and use the stone sword key. Imp statues that only need one key will have the key inserted from the top. Stone statues that require both keys, as you can see here, will be inserted in both the bottom and the top statues. And what is our reward for burning 3 keys on this? Our reward is Crepus's Black Key crossbow and a set or a quiver of the bolts. So, crossbows do not have scaled attributes. Crossbows are meant to be, they're an option for everyone, whereas bows are an option for those who actually like archery. There's no real point to using a crossbow if you intend on leveling dex in any capacity. A bow will just give you more bang for your buck. You mostly want crossbows if you're running like an array of stats or don't have high dex or high strength to make some bows worth it. The other thing we get is the Assassin's Prayer Book. So, the scrolls we gave to Sorcerer Selen. We can take the prayer books and give them to Corrin. However, I don't recommend you do that, because he will have some interesting dialogue to say about prayer books. There's a different NPC that I recommend you give all your prayer books to. As far as scrolls are concerned, you need to give those to Selen, but there will be a different person for these. Give to a learned cleric to acquire new incantations. They gain access to Assassin's Approach. So, stealth. It's interesting. This used to be like a function of sorceries, and then it became something else. It moved to being like an incantation specific thing. As you guys are probably starting to notice with Elden Ring, things that deal with purely magical forces tend to be limited in their approach options. And sorceries that do more than damage or do something else besides augment one's own offensive capabilities are rare. It's a rare thing to have exist. Incantations do have a lot more utility. And then I suppose the real question is, well, what about Arcane? Is there a school for that stat? No. Some spells from both the sorcery pool and the incantation pool will use Arcane as the primary stat instead of intelligence or faith. Usually those spells that require high Arcane require some amount of either of those stats, or sometimes all three. But Arcane would be the only one expected to be leveled to, say, 30 or 40. Like 30 or 40 points of the stat, as opposed to, say, sorceries or incantations, which can expect up to 80 points from you, depending on what they are. So we're going to pick up a finger seal. We are also going to pick up at least one incantation.
I can happily spare the time.
I'm not going to give you this prayer book. Instead, we're going to get the ability to cure poison. You might be asking, why not one of the offensive spells? We have offense covered. We have 5 different ways to deal with crowds. We need something for utility. Thankfully, finger seals don't weigh much. They weigh about as much as... Actually, they're pretty much the lightest thing apart from some daggers or some fist weapons. Where's this second talisman slot coming from? We'll take this off, put it back on. We had one slot for a while. There's a second slot now, and I'm not really understanding where that's coming from. I'm looking at the updates to see if there is an adjustment for this. Huh, that's weird. There's nothing in the recent change log for this, or there's nothing in the recent updates for this. Game modes are not compatible. New save is recommended. Decrease startup on jump animations. Wet blade stuff. I don't see anything, so I'm not sure what's going on. You shouldn't really have a second second talisman slot right now. That's not supposed to come until later. I mean, I guess I shouldn't be complaining. I guess that means we can put on a talisman that will help us for that fight.
There's nothing.
So now let's go ahead and rest. We have some choices we can make. First, allow me to show you that this table will let us resurrect bosses. So one of the touted features for Elden Ring Reforged is the boss resurrection system. You used to be able to do this from any rest site, but I think it's better implemented as something you do that's mostly outside the confines of the game world, like in here, in other words. So you'll come here to Round Table Hold, you'll select your bosses, and then you can fight them again. If you want a massive stockpile of runes, this is your way to get them. There are specific bosses I recommend this for, but not every boss needs to be resurrected. I'll show this off later with a major one or something. Something that has a suitable reward for the time you spend. In the meantime, we have a different problem. So, we can go back, claim, like, I think 500 runes, and attempt to fight, I'm blanking. Margit. We can attempt to fight Margit again, or we can go grind and get some additional utility and just do other stuff. We're gonna give Margit one more try. I think he's worth that much. Then, if we don't get him then, what we'll probably do is during intermission, I'll think of places we can go that will allow us to either gain some more spells, different kinds of spells, or we can go tackle this quest given to us by Kenneth Haidt. And it is a quest. It's just not, there's no quest log or anything. You really have to pay attention. The game's not going to isn't going to give you a tracker on a silver platter. We're lucky we get this, because this didn't used to be as detailed as it was on launch. It used to be a lot more vague. Fast travel existed, but having legends, having a legend, having things be neatly spelled out for you on this map, yeah, that wasn't always a thing. That had to be patched in as a part of a service. We should be thankful that Miyazaki didn't try to put his foot down on that. Alright. I've introduced Roundtable Hold. We are now going to give Margit another try. I'm going to be deathly silent for that, so that I can focus on the fight. If I can't get it down, then we'll go do something else. That's the game plan. Might take an early intermission just so we can do that. We'll see. Alright, I'll see you guys on the other side of this. Huh. Spoken like a true raid boss. Market. Well, our reward is a hefty chunk of runes. Something like basically 5,300 or so. It's nice. You can grind level ups off him. I might grind a couple off camera, just so that we're not stuck waiting on various things to take place. All right. I actually was expecting to struggle on that boss a little more. In vanilla, Market is a DPS check on top of needing to pay attention. Since he already catches rolls, and he already checks to see if you're too close or too far away and doing absolutely nothing, having him be a DPS check on top of all that is, that's just the cherry on the cake, really. That is the cherry on top. Yeah, this guy probably took me, I think, somewhere to the tune of 45 tries my first time, just dealing with all the roll catching. Oh, and that's nothing to say of the fact you can actually fall off of the stage here, off of the terrain here. You could actually die due to falling off a cliff during that fight. And I've had no less than 10 or 20 different attempts between multiple playthroughs consist of me getting him to within a 10th of his HP total, only to die to backstepping off the cliff. If that is a tilt fest. Certain bosses make me go full tilt. Market is one of them. Just because of the inherent problems with that fight. But you didn't come here to hear me moan and complain about vanilla Market. You came here to watch me play through modded Market, and modded Market's a tad bit easier. Not really easier. I think he has less health or defense, but honestly, our talismans and gear did a lot of work for us as well. I think, let's see, is it ERRB? It might be ERRB. Hang on. So, this wasn't always a thing, but some other people have done us the kindness of logging all the resistances and immunities present in Elden Ring Reforged. If I wanted to, I could consult this document beforehand based on bosses I know I'm going to be fighting for the day, and we can prepare our toolkit accordingly. It won't really work that way right now, just because our toolbox is limited. Our spells deal magic damage, and so if something resists magic damage, you can't do anything about it. Let's allocate our flasks. But as time goes on and our build becomes more polished, it can already start leveling Faith, and then we'll kind of let Faith and Arcane catch up with Intelligence. Eventually, we will have access to most damage types, and we'll be able to change them out on the fly, basically. We'll be able to adapt to boss or enemy weaknesses, which is great. It's fantastic. Being able to match a boss with annoyance for annoyance, with needling attacks for needling their weakness, yeah. It's almost euphoric, really, how much enjoyment one gets out of exploiting a weakness. Um, well, we can now cure poison, which some enemies will use poison on us. So it's not a bad thing to level. It's not a bad thing to have this. We just need to actually get the runes necessary to buy some of the other tools to make it worthwhile. To make faith in Arcane actually worth something. So, now what we're going to do is we're actually going to... I'm trying to think of what the best way we want to be tackling content is. I think that what we want to do is sort of finish exploring central or western Limgrave, but take a detour to eastern Limgrave first so that we can complete Fort Height. As we do get ourselves a nice little weapon for that. A weapon that is very suitable for anything that requires holy damage. It's not... It's at least better than constantly having to smack stuff down. So I think the game plan is to make a pit stop here. Then we make a pit stop here. Then we make a pit stop here. A pit stop here. And finally, we make our way to Fort Height. I think that's the game plan. We're going to do our best not to get caught up in too many struggles in the meantime. We got the rune bear along the road. This here is technically a lake that houses 2 more rune bears on top of all the other stuff in it. And there's a rune bear here at this location. I know that from personal experience and memory. We'll go ahead and take a slightly earlier intermission today, because I need time to think over what it is I want to do. Also, I want to make another cup of tea, and I don't want to burden people by me walking over there, getting the cup of tea, and going back. I want that ready so that I don't have to get up from my seat when the intermission finishes. So the intermission's typically 10 minutes long. Feel free to get a snack, a drink, or stretch your legs, go talk to some folks. But the plan is to be back at approximately 2:36. It is currently 2:25 Eastern Standard Time, and by the time we take the intermission, a full minute will have passed. I am going to stamp 180, and I will see you guys after the break. Okay. I am back. My apologies about that. I had to go deal with a couple of things. I won't get into them too much, just that well, when nature calls, you must answer, or you will end up having problems for yourself. And leave it at that. Everyone have a good intermission? Everyone managed to get done? Think the things they wanted to get done? Or did they end up having to cut short to come back? I presume you wouldn't have, but you never know. Some people rush like crazy to get back if a streamer is currently on intermission for whatever reason. I've done it myself. I rushed because I know the intermission time is blocked. It's limited. It's measured. Shall we? We are, for those who are either just coming here or are just now tuning in, my name is CoinStamp180, otherwise known as Swirling Vortex 09 on YouTube, and this is Elden Ring Reforged. It is a mod of Elden Ring. You can find Elden Ring Reforged on Nexus Mods, the website, owned by, I think it's Black Tree Gaming, something like that. But more importantly, you don't even need to know who owns it to know where to get it. If you type in !ERR with none of the other stuff after it, no quotes, just !ERR, all lowercase, and you will get a link to go to that page and get that mod. And it gives you all the instructions you could possibly need to download and install Elden Ring Reforged. The author is Kernifer. That's the moniker they use. That is the mod author. And other than a few graphical things that I'm not 100% aware of, Kernifer mostly works on the mod by themselves. Even hitbox stuff. Kernifer can even go so far as to tinker with hitboxes. But any purely graphical things or a complete change in graphic, that's where the buck stops, and they have to go get someone. But everything else is all theirs. So Kernifer's amazing at what they do. None of what we would do would be possible without it. We wouldn't be able to duck. We wouldn't be able to, we wouldn't be able to deflect without it. We wouldn't be able to have regenerating FP without it, or the time of day not instantaneously resetting to morning. We wouldn't have any of that without his expertise. And, of course, all the people who make the modding tools with their expertise. Excuse me. And all of the modding tools they use. If people aren't working on those modding tools, then none of this amazing stuff could be happening. Kernifer, thank you so much for the hard work you do to make this great, amazing mod. And I hope that this stream can provide some much-needed foot traffic and a new infusion of life. Not that it was lacking it, but, you could never go wrong with more bodies playing the same great mod over the same great game that FromSoft has so graciously built for us, Elden Ring, and even gone so far as to remain neutral with mods as long as we understand and accept the limitations of using cheat engine for player servers or for the multiplayer. Like I said, let's hop to it. Is it nighttime for whatever reason? It shouldn't be. No, it's morning. It's just overcast? That's weird. Oh, it must be getting ready to range shortly. That's probably what it is. Hopefully folks had a good intermission. I already mentioned how mine was, and I don't really care to talk about it. Hopefully no one else had such a harrowing 10 minutes for themselves. But that's the thing about life. You never know what's going to be right around the corner until it hits you. Sometimes you don't get the time to plan. You just have to adapt or die. That's all there is. Adapt or struggle. Die is the most extreme. But, I mean, I'm talking about that dichotomy between success or failure that hinges on a person's ability to adapt their behavior and their actions to changing circumstances, in which sometimes the result for that can indeed be failure or even death. I don't mean it to be macabre. I'm not trying to be excessively macabre. Promise. So you guys might be asking yourselves, what's over here? Why are we making this pit stop? Well, these pit stops are for various treasures. And note that these aren't all the treasures that are there, just all the treasures I can think of at the moment. There are always more. For example, here is a passageway to someplace special. We definitely want to access that as well. We won't be doing anything with it yet, but we will see what it is. Looks like a mausoleum, right? That's because it is. But it's not a mausoleum turtle, which is what you're thinking. You see the blue edge here? Like, yes, you can't mount in a mausoleum turtle either, but here we are. This is a river well. I want you guys to be amazed. I'm going to be quiet for this. So everything that we explored is up there. This is the underground. This is a whole separate place. It wasn't enough that the overworld was big. Remember, this is Limgrave. This is the Weeping Peninsula. Here's a place we haven't been yet, and here's another place we haven't been yet. That's all above ground. Notice that that map is shaded, or yeah, that map is revealed. Here we don't see anything. Well, why don't we take a rest? And then, to further cement what we could do with this, now that we've actually been to the river well, we no longer need to go back. We can go back to this church. We don't have to use that lift ever again. We have a nice, easy path to the underground. So what are we going to do now? Well, we technically didn't go to the spot on the map. However, what's here, I think, is just a Physick item, which we should go and get. However, I don't know if I need to circle the tree or not to get it, or if it's offset. So let's go find that out together. But we will be heading to that river well at some point. A quest line practically demands we go there. It's just, this is great. Elden Ring has proven to be one of my favorite games of all time, and it can only be better with this mod. There really aren't too many things I could even point to and say I dislike it. Not that I have high standards to begin with, but you know, I'm sure if I... Sorry, let me back up. I will say changes regarding Torrent, like the way that Torrent is healed up, is not exactly my favorite, but it gives the Roa raisins more utility, so I certainly understand it. Don't nibble me. That could be taken so wrong. But yeah, this is just a great game, a great mod. I can't help but heap praise on it. And Carnifer mostly does the work themselves, as I've already said multiple times already. It really is it's a marvel in itself, just how much work Carnifer has put into this since the mod's inception. There really isn't a whole lot I could say, if anything at all, that's really bad about it. Most things that I would even begin to complain about are, okay, I understand the design intent, I might not agree with it, but I understand it. I can respect it. It's not oh, well, I'm begrudgingly tolerating it. No, I can respect that Torrent has torrent resources. The spiked crack tier and the... As soon as I could get the key item... And the green spill tier... green spill tier boosts stamina, or it raises max stamina. Spike crack tier makes charge attacks more powerful. So, as you can see, the Flask of Wondrous Physick is not just for health or resources. You can put buffs in this thing. There's just not much more to say than that. It's a great item. You should totally use it. Alright, we have covered this nice little area and obtained a nice little item. Let's go over and obtain more nice items. And that one was the ground slam. Yeah, sometimes you could just bump into stuff and not even be aware that you're bumping into it. Also, those were trees, and they became demi-human. Yeah, if you wanted to just solely be an archer in this game, you totally have the capacity to do that now. You're not limited to the express game vision. You're not constantly going hunting for resources. You don't also have to invest in high amounts of mind to make your builds worth it. You don't have to stretch yourself so thin that you can't enjoy the game the way you want it. Elden Ring Reforged is truly almost a work of art. And with the new game mode being implemented and all the AI fixes and enhancements, this really will be one of the premier mods of our of our modern day, at least until Convergence comes. And even then, Convergence fills a totally different... It would fill a totally different niche compared to what Elden Ring Reforged is trying to do. Alright, so we're here at this place, and you know what we have to do, right? We can't craft any more items. We're completely stuck. I'm not sure we can coat any of our short bows or anything like that in flame. So we're going to have to just get in here quick. Interesting. It stays asleep. And you probably hear that howling. In order for us to address that, we need to go back and talk to a specific someone. We also need to come back here with something special. And we have to deal with the rune bear all at the same time. So, let's deal with that rune bear first. And we're just gonna stay right here and let this bear tax itself. We may want to consider making sure we attack a spot further up on the bear. Or we could always just pepper it with our own stuff. But this used to be a nightmare to deal with. It is now much less of a nightmare to deal with. Oh, I was afraid you were gonna pop your head through there. I can't imagine how this rune bear feels right now. Where it's like, I know what they're doing. I want to stop them, and I just can't. They can also speed up the process by using magic. And for an easy 1,300 runes, we could come back here, pump in 6 fire arrows and about 50 regular ones, and we will totally be able to deal with the rune bear. I'm not sure that's particularly worth it. Rune bears generally don't give enough runes for it to be worth it, except in specific circumstances. Later in the game, they kind of become a non-issue, but early on, they just have so much health. They have so much health, and there's really... It's kind of a shame that they aren't worth more. The stunted rune bear makes perfect sense. The very first rune bear that you have the opportunity to meet is a stunted one. They don't hit as hard. But regular rune bears? Oh god, they're Mack trucks. Now, we get the lovely little distinction of being able to do that again, later. What we're going to do now is make a note of this place with a marker and come back to it after we've talked to a specific someone. How's everyone enjoying the game so far? Everyone liking it? Liking what's in it? Though the lingering pool of flame, that's a new effect. That is part of the mod. That's another way that you can tell that Elden Ring Reforged is what you're playing and not anything else. Okay, then. You know, I can perfectly deal with swarms. You guys might be getting hits and chip damage on me, but I'm coming out wiser and stronger for the trades. You really should just know not to pick fights with creatures that are stronger than you. But, you know, when you've got a mob that's with you, mob mentality takes over. You think you're invincible because you have so many capable, competent people around you or creatures around you to protect you.
Yes, right this way. Right this way.
He makes it sound like I shouldn't be here. Like I don't want to be here. But that's not the case, as you will soon see.
Welcome, valued customer. Come, trade in our wandering emporium. Please, buy something. I'm hungry. I've been hungry so long. Please?
The Wandering Emporium's a bit of a misnomer, or he's referring to all the nomadic merchants. Like they're all part of one emporium, which I could believe. But it's a misnomer if it's the latter. If it's the former and not the latter. As for the hungry part, that's true. The only way these guys eat is with the things we spend on for them. So, here we get a beast lure pot and exalted flesh. We also get smithing stones. We should go and get 3 of these right now. We will be buying everything off these merchants at a later date. Right now, there's no reason to do that. Or if I do that, I will do it off camera. I know, a lot of things would be happening off camera, but I doubt you guys want to sit here and watch me grind it out for all these items, would you? I know it's a streaming series, but I'm trying to find the balance between not like showing everything and not wasting your time on tedious, menial, busy work. If that were the case, I would just do a 3-hour AMA with this in the background. But I don't want that to be the case. I want this to be as active of a content medium as I can, barring the intermission and, the 10-minute delay on starting the stream. We technically stream for 3 hours and 10 minutes. I don't have to do that. I could just fire up the stream immediately. But I want to give you time to get in, get seated, get comfortable, get yourself situated, and maybe talk to me before stuff begins in like an unofficial capacity. All that stuff. Now, the reason we're coming here is because it's a graveyard. And these graveyards, or cemeteries, tend to have a lot of these sorts of coffins in them, or sarcophagi. And they tend to house golden runes, hard runes. And we can use them. Where is the enemy coming from? we could use these hard runes to help level up or buy gear. Ah, here we are. And there is that a great white one? I don't think it is. All right. I think that's everything. That's everything in this immediate area. We can go and see what's up here, but that's back over in Western Limgrave, technically. I want to kind of stick to Eastern Limgrave for the time being, although we have the time to go do it. You know what? Yeah, we can take a quick trip up here. Why not? Also, we didn't even finish collecting everything to begin with. So, our reward is basically 800, 2,400 runes. That could be popped at any time, just for the distinct pleasure of being able to buy something or cement a level up or whatever we want, really. Something else we can do is, let's say we don't have anything we want to buy. Nothing at all. We have nothing that's worth buying, but we still want to store our runes before we go into a boss fight. We can take a ruin fragment, excuse me, and an earthleaf flower, and make runes out of them. We could make hard runes. This isn't even the only kind we can make. It's just the one that we start out knowing. We do lose out on some runes in this process. The conversion, I believe it it was 2,600 before. So you lose 25% of your runes in order to be able to convert them to a hard form for later. But that's a small price to pay for being able to walk into a boss fight empty-handed and just focus on the fight and not have to sit there and worry about your runes being left on a grave marker. Typically what's left over you won't care about. 100, 300, a couple thousand when it's later on in the game. You won't care so much. And it lets you store your wealth, your hard-earned buckaroos, for later. I like it. And the rune arcs we'll talk about when we actually get a great rune to worry about with them. Okay, it looks like I can't... It looks like I have to approach... It's a sheer cliff that I have to approach from this other side. Yeah, those jumps are too high. And I don't see a spirit spring anywhere. So I guess never mind. We're going to be heading over here. I don't think the coastline has anything, but I'm going to give it a quick look just to be sure. I know a portion of the coastline definitely has something. I don't think it's this, though. I think it's something else. One thing I will show off, if I hadn't done so already, I believe I have, but we didn't actually defeat one. These land octopuses, or octopi? Land octopi. Octopods. Yeah, they're not quite sure which one's accurate, technically. Let's see, will Crystal Burst work on these? Yes, but it's not really very good. They're not too hard to fight. You just have a spell that pops off their tentacles, and they're easy fodder. You just gotta watch the flailing and stay back. And for all that easy work, you get 430 runes, plus their ovaries, ew, and a strip of their flesh. There is something on this coast. Was it worth it, though? A poppable rune? Not really. The octopus itself was the reward. Because it was worth more than double of that popped rune. I still feel tired. It's still clinging to me. I'm doing everything I can to fight it, but I'm definitely still feeling the effects of that caffeine. That's probably the last time I drink a Monster for a while. Okay. We currently don't have any useful incantations, so let's fix that. Able to use it or get to. As oh, I didn't technically introduce everyone. There's a person I'm missing. We could fix that right now. But notice that Gideon has moved from this spot. Instead, you'll find him over here.
What do you need? I have little time to spare.
What do you mean, a house guest?
Are you aggrieved at the notion you are but a visitant here? And you would do well to remember the first words of grace given to you. Stand before the Elden Ring and become the Elden Lord. If those words held any meaning to you, follow the guidance of grace. Lay low the shard bearers and claim for yourself a great rune. Do so, and the doors to the round tables in the chamber will open, and you will receive the wisdom of the two fingers.
Sorry, I'm making sure I'm not missing anything. The bots can cover it up sometimes. I may have to adjust which timers are on and off. It's not perfect. I'm still working on all the necessary stream details.
Once the wisdom of the two fingers becomes your own, I'll impart to you a proper welcome. As a true member of the Round Table, I have high hopes for you. I'm sick and tired of them. These namby-pamby tarnished think us no more than a shelter from the rain. We've spoken long enough. I have matters to attend to.
Ah, well, thank you for your attempt at assuaging us, Gideon. At least we know now what he meant by house guest. What he meant was, hey, don't forget you've got a job to do. You need to become Elden Lord. You're aspiring to be one of us, also fighting for the same exact thing. Show me that you're at least partly serious and you'll be more welcome in here. One of the nice things about Elden Ring in general is that if you want to be a plate-wearing caster, you can do it. You just need to put your stats in the right place. We're not going to be going into or leveling endurance in too much of a significant capacity for a while. Like, we're leveling it now, but when it hits 20, we're kind of going to slow it down. Maybe put a point here or there depending on what we need. I find that 20 is pretty reasonable for my purposes. I can run and dodge and do what I gotta do on that number. Vigor and Mind, I want higher. But, that's part of the build. Now this was what I was wanting to show.
Greetings, great champion called by grace. I am Fia. Circumstances have compelled my stay at the Round Table Hall. Great champion, would you allow me to hold you? But briefly, perhaps you might share with me some of your lively vigor and your stout-heartedness. Doing so will grant me the warmth of a champion, and you, I am sure, will bear a Balderkin's blessing. Do you think it vulgar, perhaps? Where I come from, it is a sacred act.
No bounce chicka wow wow here. It's much less vulgar than you think. I'll just show you.
Ah, my thanks, great champion.
Even looks vulgar. Until you realize what's happening. It is quite literally just a well-spirited hug.
Very warm.
Now, did you see that little decrease in our HP? Our hit points? Yeah. This is what Fia's little hug does. You lose 5% of your health off this.
What you felt light up inside you was a Balderkin's blessing. Though it is but a fleeting thing, I am afraid. Come back to me, should you require another. I will take you in my arms as often as you need.
Well, hey, I mean, at least it's a comforting hug, right? We're gonna use this. So, the Balderkin's Blessing, favored bestowed by a deathbed companion. That's another thing that should be familiar to you. She's called herself Fia. And Fia is the deathbed companion in the cutscene, the intro cinematic. Yeah, we're gonna be dealing with her later. Don't remember exactly how yet. I mean, I kinda do, but I don't want to spoil it. Protection of a hidden temple in the guise of a bedchamber. Uses FP to temporarily boost poise. The favor allows one to forget any aches and pains. In death, there is only peace, for in death there can be no sensation. Is this really worth 5% of your health? No, not really. It's worse than the Dark Souls 3 weapon art that did the same exact thing, but didn't eat your HP. Like, people still made use of it, but the amount of poise that you get is a pittance. We have 38. I'm going to get another one from her so I can show it off in more detail.
See you again.
But
Do you like me?
it's a pittance.
Now, come.
You typically need something like 80 poise, or between 60 and 80 poise, to not be staggered or broken from your attacks by most things. Oh, we can talk to her.
I was known as a deathbed companion. Where I come from, after I received the warmth and lively vigor from a number of champions, I lay with the remains of an exalted noble. To grant him another chance at life, to do so is the purpose of my being. But before I could bear the noble into new life, I was awakened by the guidance of grace and chased from my birthplace. Pray, be kind. Despite all that, I still wish to be a deathbed companion. So please, let me hold you like this, as often as it takes. Then good day to you, my dear.
How touching. I'm not gonna spoil too much with Fia yet. She is one of the ones that is struggling for, how do I put this? The title of Elden Lord, but it's more like all of these named Tarnished are all striving to do something very specific. Very, very specific. With the world in mind. And Fia is one of those people. And we could either be part of that or completely ignore her. And if we ignore her, she'll stay right here and give you hugs. As long as you don't go talking to certain other people as well. So, our poise is currently at 39. Our poise is now at 78. Okay, so it doubles it. Never mind. It's not terrible, but you're trading what is essentially one good cast on a spell or a weapon art for what? Your health? Is that worth a trade? I don't know. I'll leave the real answer to that to the no-hit professionals or for people who play the game casually, but I absolutely don't think health is worth this. Your health is a lot more valuable to you than that. Don't waste it on the Baldachin's Blessing. You'll get nothing out of it. You might even forget to use it, and then that's just 5 HP off the top. 5 HP? 5% HP off the top for no reason. If it were 5 HP, I'd definitely keep one on hand. But it's 5%, so no. All right, we are going to take Flame Sling and Urgent Heal.
May the golden order.
Let's see. Then we're going to set the spell or memorize it. Crystal Burst is not very good, so we're going to go ahead and switch it out. Urgent Heal takes 10. 10 Faith. It can be cast while in motion, but it cannot heal allies. Other miracles do that, or other incantations do this. I don't really need that, and we're not playing online. The only reason you would ever worry about healing something else is if you're playing with incantations and you're doing NPC quests. Which we are, but we have better uses of our time than that. Instead, we're going to go ahead and memorize Flame Sling even though we can't use it yet. And instead, what we're going to do... I'm going to show off that you can resurrect Market. I don't want to resurrect Tree Sentinel, even though I can. And instead, we are going to go talk to Kale. Why Kale, you might ask? It'd probably be easier for me to show rather than tell.
It's you always. The howl of a wolf. In the mistwood. I suppose he must still be skulking about. I know. Why not meet him for yourself? Next time you hear the wolf's howl, make this signal right under the source. Oh, don't fret. There is nothing to fear. I just have an inkling the two of you might hit it off.
And our reward is a gesture. This gesture is just the beginning. I guess we technically have what we need, but we're missing some runes for a level up. A level up is currently 5k. We currently hold 1,000, 1,800, 2,600. No, we have enough for a level up.
What is it?
I guess we should go ahead and do this now. Why not? And we will go ahead and put this into Faith. And as you can see, we can now cast the spell. So, what are we going to do? Well, we're going to take that bow off our bar. We don't need it right now. And instead, we are going to put on... I mean, a short bow is as good a weapon as any, but really, I would much rather have a club in that hand. And for comparison, the club is only a point heavier and gives us some melee options should we really need it. We no longer need to play purely at range. You'll see why it's beneficial to do that shortly. So, what are we going to do now? We're going to make our way back over to Fort Height, go back, re-kill that... Actually, I don't know why I unequipped that short bow, considering that we're just going to use that same trick again to deal with the rune bear, but actually might as well just go ahead and do that right now. But for future purposes, unless we have some sort of cheese we want to do, we might as well switch out for a real weapon. Because we already have, you know, 2 elements to choose from now. 2 sources of magical damage. Magic damage and fire damage. You should totally expect this. The incant scaling on this is 110. You should already just expect that it's not going to be perform that well. I'll fire one here. This is 155. Our rune arcs, our glintstone arcs, on average do about 109. Yeah, around 100 to 150. Ow. We don't really have a basic regenerator spell for incantations yet. So if we want to regenerate anything, we are going to have to use sorceries. But that's fine. Our glintstone stars, when it's unresisted, does 183 points of damage to a demi-human. So, the main thing we'd want to use Flame Sling for is to check a different resistance. If we want to be hitting fire resist because there's less of it, we should switch to the incantation and use it. Rather than continually fire at a highly resistant enemy. Most things generally don't handle well to fire. There are a handful of creatures that perform okay with fire, but for the most part, you're pretty safe picking it. In this game, it's holy that tends to be resisted a lot. And if you point it just right, you don't even need to aim. As long as the bear does this. And of course, if you get into any trouble, you can always duck out of whatever shot you're trying to fire. Another 1,300 runes. And we get a whole bunch of materials. That's the real reason to kill the rune bears, are the material drops. Alright, it's up here, right? Yeah. And we want to be on the other side. Trust me, I tried standing where the chest is. You really don't get good mileage out of that. Alright, so we're going to replace one of these with the one we need. Let's change Rallying Cry for the Finger Snap. Oh, hi there, big guy.
Who goes there? Carly sent you, did he? Ever the bloody busybody. Maybe to him you don't seem so strange. The name's Blythe. I'm looking for a man who goes by Darrowell. He fled somewhere nearby. Or so I've heard. Come tell me if you find him before I do. I can offer you ample reward. Darrowell is nothing but a traitor, and in need of a fitting end to his tale. Darrowell is nothing and in need of a...
So, this is Blythe. Blythe the Half-Wolf. And, yeah, he's been Rule 34'd a lot. Not as much as, say, Fia or, some of the other characters, like Rena, who have been Rule 34'd. But if there was a masculine-sounding person who has absolutely been Rule 34'd, it is this guy. I watched a YouTube video where the actor, the voice actor for him, read through a bunch of comments, and oh my god, people were so thirsty. I don't understand. I guess I do understand, I just don't want to. I don't want to believe it. That people are either closet furries, which is perfectly okay, but it's I find it completely alien to me. And it's one thing to like allude to the human body in the same fashion. It's one thing to call a man a beast. That can mean a good thing or a bad thing depending on what you're talking about. And in the sexual sense, it's definitely a good thing. That's the sort of statement that a man would have a aphrodisiac or frankincense, otherwise frankincense, prepared for. He would totally have something for just such an occasion. But when you're talking about a real animal or a real anthropomorphized animal, and you call that a beast with a similar connotation, that's a real problem. I don't understand why the fandom is that thirsty, and the actor's reaction was exactly what I expected. It was a combination of hysterical laughter and oh my god, what am I reading? I think there were one of the responses or one of the tweets was something he just did not read at all. It's just like, I'm skipping it. Goodbye. Goodbye. Whoever wrote that it sounds like a freaking creep on paper. Needless to say, it was hilarious to watch. Yeah, this is... Blythe has been Rule 34 to death. What are we going to do with Mr. Blythe, you might ask? Well, the only thing we can do, go back to Agile Lake South and finally take on Bloodhound Darrowell. If you recall, we actually died to this this guy once already. We're gonna use a little help to get past Darrowell this time. If the other bloodhounds or similar like bloodhounds, we're gonna have to be on our toes. We have some better tools now, so it's not as big of a deal. But we do still have to pay attention. And I don't remember if I think the summon side is actually inside the jail. And in Everjails, you usually can't summon spirit ashes. That's not always the case. I think there are a couple of exceptions, but generally you tackle these by yourself. Yep, here's the golden summon sign right here. Let Blythe, if you're a caster, let Blythe be your tank. You don't need to, you know, go all out.
Rotting in a cell is no true justice. No. This is where it ends for you.
Alright, Blythe, he's over here. Bloodhound Knight Darrowell. We're gonna let him get aggro and then proceed to smash. You know, just don't get carried away. You think your roll tracking is so special, Darrowell? It is not. What? Oh, right. I was waiting for stars there. Oh, staggered in midair. I like that. Afraid we didn't get the last blow there. Thank you for your help, Blythe. Much appreciated. And of course, after you complete this, you'll find him outside.
Right. There you are. Had to work for it, but it's done. Don't say I'm not a man of my word. Here's your prize.
Our reward is a somber smithing stone. These are very, very powerful crafting items. You upgrade special weapons with these.
Oh yes. I should say, if you venture north to Rea Lucaria and come across a venerable blacksmith who's a little on the large side, tell him I sent you, and he'll be sure to treat you right. I owe you one, I reckon. That's enough chit-chat for now. It's time we parted ways. That's enough. It's time we parted.
Yep, that's all there is to it. And since we're on this side of town, we're on this side of Limgrave, we might as well go check out the opposing side. I'm fairly sure this is the encampment that had the I think it was the Starstone? The Starlight Shard. Yeah, I believe we already picked that up, actually. Yep, no, we're good. We didn't need to come here. That's a complete waste. So we're gonna go back to Fort Height. I know, we keep coming here and not actually doing what we set out to do. I promise it'll be different this time. Because all we have is this castle. We might have time to do one more thing, depending on how quickly we can get this done. Fort Height doesn't take that long to do. It's just a matter of paying attention. Honestly, getting inside the fort is the difficult part. The fort itself isn't that bad. Because as you can see, there are demi-humans everywhere. And there are crossbowmen. And there are ballistae. And we're kind of waiting to see... Okay, here's a demi-human. And we are luring soldiers here, which isn't so bad at first. It's the fact that we're also getting a pumpkin head thrown into the mix. And of course, we all know what the pumpkin heads do to us. It's not too hard. You just pay attention. It's exactly like tackling Stormgate. Just keep moving, play defensive, and don't let up your guard for even a second. Head slam number 1. Head slam number 2. I do not believe we changed back to the melee weapon yet, so we are going to use that to our advantage. Don't try to outcompete the pumpkin heads. That doesn't usually work. It would be nice to give us somewhere else to target except for their heads. I don't like pumpkin heads that much. They aren't the worst enemy to fight. It could be worse. But I certainly don't miss pumpkin heads. Because you kind of have to treat your caster like a shotgun with those pumpkin heads. You gotta stand behind them, get real close, pretend to shove the staff up their butt, and then proceed to cast spells. Or you gotta use melee range incantations such as, it's like O Surge, O Flame, or something like that. I forget the exact name. Yeah, like I said, getting here was the hard part. And yes, the fort might look intimidating to start with. But once you go through and just take your time, the fort's not that bad. Dealing with the crowds as the hard part. Because at this point, unless you just beeline for Fort Height, like you just knock out this quest straight away, you should have at least some sort of tool in order to progress through the fort. it shouldn't be that much of a struggle. Unless you're like playing a melee only or like a cat, like if you're not doing a quality build or anything like that, then you may struggle with some parts. Especially what happens at the end. Oh, come on, I'm using the melee attack. Don't interrupt that, please. Carrion Slicer is a little bit better, in my opinion, for FP regen compared to Glintstone Pebble, but Glintstone Pebble will get better as we have better decks. Whereas Carrion Slicer will start to fall off, because it can only go so fast, and it probably suffers high diminishing returns due to decks or due to casting speed. I'm afraid that someone is going to like blow up one of those barrels, and it's going to be lights out. Yeah, there's a good reason why players use these barrels in the beginning. Oh, because they hurt a lot. I think we have enough health that we aren't going to get one shot if an explosion hits us, but we have to be at full health. I thought I felt an insect climb up my pants. My apologies if I looked like I was spazzing out. That's because I'm mentally spazzing out right now. But it's not an insect. I just felt there. It's my own imagination. Gonna wait for you to toss one. One fully charged cast should be all it takes. Now for the real challenge. See up there? That knight? That's a special knight. We're doing very little damage. Oh, don't do this. There's no in or out there. Unless you think so. I don't know. I don't recall Kernifer editing a passage like that. And this is why I don't like those knights. They wag a very big middle finger. What I can do is try to use one of these fire pots to our advantage. And that was exactly why I was wanting to avoid that knight. Oh, and he didn't even take that much from fire. That's okay. All I have to do is outrun them, and they will lose interest. And if they don't lose interest, and we'll have enough time to heal. We are completely out at this point, though. Yeah, this knight knows Bloody Slash, which is the weapon art. And that slash does also have a thrusting alternate as well. That's okay. Two can play at this game. Just use the terrain to your advantage. Don't let him get close. Absolutely don't let him get close. Let him work for you. I forgot that battlement was right there. Oh, and yeah, these knights have no problem just jumping down. Use the terrain to your advantage. Just, you know, make sure your lock-on is still good. Yeah, they have no problem keeping up with you. Really? It de-locked the second the cast completed. Awful. And hemorrhage is a really serious status. Don't delude yourself. You can totally die from two great big... Did you seriously make that jump just now? That knight isn't skipping leg day. That knight ain't skipping leg day. Well, we still have a fire pot. And this knight guards the Dectus medallion, left half. My goodness. He is a handful. And I don't blame people for, you know, running around like a chicken with their head cut off, not wanting to get hurt. We almost got killed by one of those slashes. I'm not surprised that I'm not surprised that people give this guy the runaround. The knight was kind of a joke in the base game, so the fact that he has much more health in Elden Ring Reforged is a good thing. I like that change. He's actually a serious threat that needs to be dealt with, or it's a huge problem. And what is our reward for braving the castle depths and dealing with a knight that wanted to bleed us dry? Our reward is yet another somber smithing stone. This one I'd argue is not worth the cost of admission, but what are you gonna do? Well, we've done the quest. Let's go, you know, get our reward. Serving noblemen does have its perks. Although, in Elden Ring Reforged, or in Elden Ring even, getting rewards from NPCs tend to be in the form of weapons and armor, and not money. So that could be an interesting prospect. Oh yeah, I received this magical weapon as payment. I'm not sure where I can sell it though.
I've been waiting for you with bated breath. Did you manage to recapture my fort? Oh, excellent news. Just wonderful. And the knight's dead to boot. Well done, my friend. Well done indeed. I knew I was right to trust you. Now, here's your reward, as promised. Go ahead. It's all yours.
And our reward is something very precious, an Erdsteel dagger. Alright, goodbye. Nice knowing ya. No, I'm kidding. You can actually keep talking to him.
Right then. Time for me to head to the fort. I've much to do. First, I'll have to re-establish communication with the demi-humans. What's that look? You don't believe me? Well, Under the Earth Tree, commingling with the demi-humans is made possible. Even the vulgar shall not be left behind under the rule of true order. Which is why I, Kenneth Height, next in line as the rightful ruler of Limgrave, have sworn to uphold it. Just you watch, my friend. Just you watch.
Okay, anything else?
Yes. I've been meaning to ask. Would you like to enter my service? I see bright things in your future, stout warrior. Enter into my service and learn the workings of the Earth Tree's true order. And who knows? Perhaps sometime down the line, the grace of gold will return to those tarnished eyes of yours. What say you? A fine accord, is it not?
Sure, I'll pledge my service to you.
Well, indeed. I knew I saw something in you. I shall await you at my fort. We shall hold the ceremony for your knighting there, I think. I see great things ahead of us. We are truly by the Earth Tree blessed.
Well, well, well.
Right then, I've much to do.
And then he'll repeat himself. So we're going to go to Fort Height, rest there again, deal with our runes, and then make our way back up there. We might as well put the other part of the flask together. That way it does something else. Let's go ahead and level. The point in getting these two stats to catch up with intelligence is so that we have our lion's pick of things to choose from in terms of spells. So now what we want to do is, and I think this will be a great place to leave off as well, where we kind of make our way to the fort. Notice that the soldiers aren't here anymore. That's right, there are no soldiers. Instead, there are demi-humans just in the courtyard. He wasn't kidding when he said he was going to reestablish contact with them. Oh, I didn't want to fall off the steps. Yeah, he wasn't kidding when he said that. I have to also be careful as to not get tripped up from behind. And then we can continue to deal with the group. I think that's everyone. Yep, that's it. That's everyone. Alright, so. Well, that's everyone that pursued us out of the fort. Is there... I don't remember there being anyone that's hurling, like, fire on the rooftop. I do hear more snarling, though. I think there might be one or two other demi-humans. Also, this fort has blood roses in it. If you want to farm blood roses, this is your pit stop. Blood rose is typically used to prepare things that deal the bleed or hemorrhage status effect. Well, hi there.
Ah, you, is it? I suppose you must have seen it by now, yes. The sorry state of my fort? Oh, indeed, it is a foul fate for a land to be without a ruler. One must be found, with haste. And not that awful Godric, but a true and stalwart lord of the proper lineage to take the reins of Limgrave.
That's great, but what about my pledge to you?
I'm sorry to have lifted your hopes. but I haven't the authority to raise you to knighthood as things stand. The great Kenneth Height issues his sincerest apology.
You look so
I
insincere.
must begin my search post-haste for a true and stalwart lord of the proper lineage to take the reins of Limgrave. I must begin for a true...
And that's all he's gonna say. Oh, you know, all's well that ends well. We weren't really gonna be a great knight anyway. We were probably gonna be confined to, you know, Eastern Limgrave. And our destiny, we have a date with destiny. We can't afford to stick around this guy, but we chose to humor him. I chose to humor him, and this was the eventual results. Who knew? Oh well, I think this is a great place to end it off. Next time on Elden Ring Reforged. See, today is Sunday, so it'll be Wednesday when we stream next time. We are going to... Let's see. We've pretty much gotten a good chunk of the items here. There's still more to do in just Limgrave, period. I think we're going to begin tackling this lake. I think that's a good place to start, is this lake. I think we're overdue to explore it. I'm CoinStamp180, otherwise known as Swirling Vortex 09 on YouTube, and this has been another episode of Elden Ring Reforged. We're going to go find someone to raid, or host, excuse me. We're not big enough to raid. I used to be, and I'd like to be again at some point, but I just have to be more consistent with streaming for the time being and rebuilding rapport. Since I don't really have anyone that is on, I am going to turn you guys over to the Bob Ross channel. They're still doing their weekend marathon. So if you guys like art, you guys just want to relax, that'll be the stream for you guys to just kind of wind down. I'm probably going to do the same myself. You can always whisper me if you're interested in watching. Yeah. Great stream, guys. Thank you guys for watching. Really appreciate it. Whether you lurked in complete silence or had the tab open and just decided to watch. I welcome both of those things. And with that, I will see you guys next time. Take care.